Hey, I'm Dietec, and in this video I'm going to be unboxing this case that I have behind me, which is the InWin 101, and taking it apart fully, seeing how conducive it is to modification, and giving you my humble opinion on whether I think this case would be nice for you to buy if you wanted to build a new computer or wanted to buy a case to modify. Now, the point of this video is not to give you all of the specs and everything like that you can just find on the manufacturer's website. If you are looking for that information, I will link it in the description of this video. But really what I'm trying to do is kind of show you how easy it would be to build inside of this case and how easy it would be to modify this case, because I am a PC modding channel. So hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a deeper understanding of all of the internals of this case and how it's made, as opposed to what you would have if you just looked at all the marketing material and kind of pictures that are online about this case already. So first things first, the first thing that you get when you open this box is this little accessory bag. Inside it is the manual and these zip ties that would be useful for cable management when you build your computer, as well as the motherboard standoffs and the power supply screws and fan screws and all that kind of standard stuff you get in every case. But one nice thing that you'll find inside of this accessory box that you won't really find in any other case boxes other than InWin cases is this graphics card support bracket. So if you have a heavy graphics card that is kind of sagging a little bit, this thing will prevent that from happening. So when the case is open, you immediately notice that there is a nice tinted tempered glass side window that is a bit of an upgrade over the acrylic side windows that usually come with cases nowadays. It's held on by these little tabs up here at the top that you just pull out to release, and the window will just swing down from the top, and to reattach them, all you do is push them back in. If you've ever built a computer before, or you just watch YouTube videos about computers in general, you'll know that the standard configuration for a case layout is that the power supply goes down here at the bottom corner, the intake fans are positioned here at the front panel of the case, and intake air from the front. The exhaust fans are usually on the back or the top of the case, where you can support a radiator or something like that. But this case kind of just ignores all of those standards and just does its own thing. The power supply is housed up here at the top of the case. It intakes air from inside of the case. There's a hole down here at the bottom of the power supply where the fan takes up air and then pushes it out of the back of the case. You do have your standard exhaust fan here at the back of the case, but the air intake is actually here at the bottom, where you have three 120mm fan mounting points protected by this dust cover, which takes care of all three of them. One thing I like about this is you don't have to take apart your front panel to get at this dust cover like you do in most PC cases. So it's really not a big deal to clean this thing, just more often than you normally would if you were required to take apart your PC to get at this dust cover. Plus, it's totally toolless, so if you just happen to have a spare minute at really just any time, you can just take it out with your hand and blow all of the dust out and just put it right back in. To remove the back panel, there are just these thumb screws here on the top two corners that just unscrew, and the back panel comes down just the same as the front panel did. So as you can see, now that the back panel is removed, there are two SSD mounts here on the back of the motherboard tray where you can put either your SSDs or your 2.5-inch hard drives. And for your 3.5-inch hard drives, next to this large power supply area on the top of the case, there is a hard drive cage that supports two 3.5-inch hard drives here in the corner. These two fan holes here are meant to be exhaust for a radiator if you decide to water cool your build and mount a radiator here on the front of it. The nice thing about this is if you have RGB fans or a reservoir that you mounted to your radiator for water cooling or anything like that, it will be displayed loud and proud here in the front of your case. And that is what this whole front area of the case is basically dedicated to, is water cooling support. If you didn't want to water cool your build, you can still just put two fans here and either use them as intake or exhaust, and if you have RGB fans or something that lights up, it would look really cool anyway. The 3.5-inch hard drive cage that I mentioned earlier is displayed right here, and the two mounts that come with it are very easily removed. Now, the state of this PC as it is right now is about what you would expect if you were just going to take it apart to build inside of it, not modify it at all or anything like that. I haven't used a single tool yet to get this PC to where it is right now, all ready to be built inside of, and I wouldn't need to until I wanted to install a graphics card or something here that utilizes these PCIe lanes, and then all I would need is a Phillips head screwdriver to get those off. Since I'm a PC modder and have bigger plans for this case other than just using it as it is and building a computer inside of it, I'm going to be taking this thing apart as much as I possibly can up until the point where you need power tools such as a drill to drill out rivets and things like that. So with this screwdriver, let's take this case apart as much as we possibly can and see how easy it would be to modify certain parts of this case to make them look all custom and super special and all that. So one thing that I might want to do if I was going to modify this case is change this front panel LED light that lights up this InWin logo here to a different color, and that means I have to get in behind it and see how it actually lights up and see if it's possible to change. In order to do that, we're going to want to take all of these wires and kind of get them out of our way, as well as remove this radiator mounting point and this hard drive cage because they look like they are obstructing where we need to get at in order to get to that LED. Plus, if you wanted to paint these parts a different color, you would need to take them off anyway, so that's kind of two birds with one stone. The three screws that hold this thing on, two at the top and one at the bottom, are exactly the same, so you can just keep them together. It doesn't really matter which one you put on top or bottom. And then when you remove those screws, all you do is lift up on the thing and slide it out. To remove the hard drive cage, we have to go in from the window side and unscrew a bunch of little screws all around it. Once those screws on the window side are removed, there's one here on the back side that you also have to remove. And once all of those screws are removed, the hard drive cage just slides out the back. Now the front I/O here is actually held on by a bracket that is attached here on top of the case. To remove this plate as well as the front I/O, there are two screws here on top of the back of the case as well as two on the front of the case that we already removed when we were taking off the screws for the hard drive cage. Once all of those screws are removed, this metal plate just slides down and is removed from the back. You'll have to remove this thing if you want to paint the outside of your case. Otherwise, if you just mask off these connection points instead of removing them completely, you won't have as clean of a finish. Now, before I go any further with removing this front panel, I'm going to show you how it looks like lit up. So to get this thing to light up, obviously we need a power supply. I'm just going to put the power supply that I'm going to use to light this thing up where it should be in the case, just so that you can kind of see what it's like to install this. So this is where your normal size power supply would sit inside of your case, and I just showed you how to install it. There is a cable routing area here right under it, so that's kind of nice. But what we need right now is a method to turn on this power supply so that it can power the front panel, so I'm just going to use the motherboard cable with a jumper in the power area. And we need the peripheral power cable to plug into this little connection here that powers the LED in the front panel. So now we've seen what it looks like lit up. We don't need this power supply anymore. And we can finally take out this front panel LED area. So there are two screws right here on the very front behind the LED area that you need to unscrew to get this thing off. And once these screws are removed, you can simply slide this thing out and back from the front panel. So as you can see, the two LEDs that light up the front panel are here right underneath this acrylic InWin logo. And you will need to do some soldering in order to change those to a different color. As well as the power LED, which lights up when you turn on the power, which is right here. You'll also need to do some soldering to change that out. Alternatively, if you aren't confident with your soldering ability, or if you just don't have the correct LEDs to replace these with, you can remove these red LEDs from the front panel and replace them with a RGB light strip or just a different color light strip. And you'll have to run a cable from that to your power supply with a Molex connection or something like that to power it. But as long as you've removed the red LEDs from this front panel, that will sufficiently light up the acrylic InWin logo and you'll successfully have a different color. It's just a different method of doing that. That method of replacing these LEDs with a light strip instead will kind of work as also like a power LED replacement, because that light strip won't turn on unless you turn on the computer. And finally, the very last thing that you can remove from this case with only a screwdriver is the case feet. You will want to remove these case feet instead of just taping them off if you want to paint this case. It'll just make for a much cleaner finish. And to do that, you just have to slide these little rubber grommets out of the case feet. There's 2 each, and behind them will be screws. So hopefully after watching this video, you will know a little bit more about what you're getting into if you decide to get this case yourself to either build inside of or modify. The fully metal exterior of this case means that if you decide to paint it, you can make it come out looking really professional if you kind of take your time a little bit, and the tempered glass side window means you don't have to make your own full side window because it comes with the fully upgraded version of whatever you would want to have anyway. Usually, if you want a full tempered glass side window that doesn't come with the case itself, you're going to have to hire a glass company to drill those holes and make it the correct size that it needs to be first. And if you wanted to make your own window, it would be usually acrylic because that's something you can work with by yourself. So it's generally just really nice to have a tinted tempered glass window already. The fact that you can very easily remove the radiator mount from inside of the case means it will be extremely easy to paint, and the large amount of space next to the power supply in the power supply shroud area means cable management won't be very hard at all inside of this case. Now, I do plan on fully modifying this case and making a video about it and putting it up on the internet in the future, so if you're interested in seeing this case modded, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you want progress pictures and updates and things between each of these videos, my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts are linked in the description. And if you do decide to get this case and mod it yourself, go ahead and send me pictures because I'm really interested to see what people are doing with this case. So, as I've said, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one.